Hello, this is Greg Stone out here in Norman, Oklahoma. Sorry, I just talked for the last minute with the mute on. I want to welcome everybody to this edition of the Virtual Lab Project and Community Owners Meeting. We've got a lot to cover today, so we'll go ahead and kick it off with Steve Smith. And Steve, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Thanks, Greg. I just want to welcome everyone and remind you all that we do these meetings for the special members of the VLab community, which are you, the project community owners. You're the folks who are really in the VLab working in communities and projects and trying to exploit the capabilities that are there. So at any time during the meeting, feel free to ask questions and go off on tangents if you want. Get your issues on the table so that we might respond. It's really your meeting, and we want to make it valuable for you. There's a lot of great stuff that continues to take place and happen within the VLab. If you haven't done so already, I encourage you to go to the What's New community or portlet in the VLab, and you can see the new projects and communities that have been initiated recently since you've last visited. And while you're there, you can take the opportunity to subscribe to that, and you'll get an email basically every time a new community or communities or projects are added, which I find is extremely useful to sort of getting the pulse of the VLab and increasing my situational awareness about new great things happening there. So I know the VLab support team and development team have been working on a number of areas to improve performance and provide new capability. You'll be hearing about some of that today. But I just want to thank everyone for participating. And again, this meeting is really for your benefit. So please ask questions and comment as you see fit. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Steve. Wanted to bring up something before we start off with Ken Sparrow, and that is we had our VLab administrators had a small discussion yesterday about how we might be able to gather input from the owners for agenda items for these bi-monthly meetings. And what we're probably going to do is go ahead. Right now there is there's an actual VLab community, and let me show it to you, called where is it? VLab Community and Project Owners. So all of you should be members of this community. If not, you can go ahead and join that. And within this community, we post the videos from these sessions and things like that. But we're going to go ahead and add something in here that will allow the owners to request topics for future meetings, and then we can take those requests and fill them out in our various agendas and things like that. So look for that soon. We'll go ahead and send an email out to all the owners when that is set up. So I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Ken Sparrow, who's going to give us information on what's new. So go ahead and take it away, Ken.
So I'm just showing you first the page, the What's New page that Steve referred to, and just to highlight, if you're subscribed to these themselves, if you're not, I'm subscribed, so you can see the unsubscribe here, but if you're not subscribed, just log into the VLab Virtual Lab Collaboration Services, go to the What's New page, and you'll see it here. And you can see in terms of communities, we had about 6 new communities this month. And on the development services projects, there's been a lot of activity. We had over 17, I think, new projects this month. And everyone's free to come in here and peruse those, get more information about what's happening there. In terms of the team itself, new capabilities, there's been a focus on getting the latest versions of some of the components, including Virtual Lab Collaboration Services and Redmine out and running, and those are both in production now. Along with that, We've also been making some changes on the virtual lab collaboration services that will impact the community owners there, where the default permissions used to be for both documents and web content that site members would be able to see both, and in fact you couldn't take that away. And for the most part, I think in communities, that's going to be the typical standard, that you would want your community members to be able to see things. But there have been some occasions recently where within communities they had sub-teams, and you can create teams. I think we've highlighted that before within your community, and then include just a subgroup of just some of the community members, and then make certain content only accessible to those team members. And so the way we initially had the permission set up, that wasn't possible, but now that is. So we may, in a future session, highlight, creation of the teams and then sharing that. I think I'm fairly certain we've done that before. So that's there. Just a reminder, it didn't take place this month. It took place, but it's just a reminder that VLab is accessible within the AWIPS network now. And so there are some changes underway that are helping within AWIPS to use VLab to serve content that traditionally was hosted elsewhere. And so shapefiles are all being made accessible via VLab. We're also, I'm in the process of putting the national data, the NDM, national data management files within AWIPS within a project, and using revision control for that. So the other thing that I think would be worthwhile is HTML formatting within the message, the forums. That is now working. It should be working across the board. And another nice benefit of the updates that we did is that spell checking within the WYSIWYGs is there. So I think everyone will benefit from that. So those are some highlights for this month.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ken.
Sure.
Any questions from anybody for Ken? Okay, looks like no questions. So I'm going to go ahead and take control back. And next item on the agenda is a LifeRay Demi demo. And I'm going to show, this was a question that came up a couple of months ago from one of our users, and I'm going to show how you can create indented bullet lists using the CK editor, places like the blogs and wiki and forums and things like that. So, so what we got here is I'm just going to go ahead and run a test and create a list. And you do that by either clicking a bullet list or a number list. And then this is specifically, we're going to be looking at numbering lists. So I'll go ahead and create a numbered list, something real easy like this. But at this point, I want to go ahead and create sub-lists, an indented bullet. And the way to do that is by one of these two icons here. We've got a decrease in indent and a increase indent. And I will do that. And you'll notice that it increased the indent, but it still maintained that numbering system, and I'll show you how to change that too. So we'll go ahead and create that indented list, and then we'll decrease the indent, continue our main list, and then we could start here by you'll see what I'm doing here in a second when I'm done. And then we'll go ahead and close that off. And to get these indented lists to have a different numbering system, you would right click on the mouse choose numbered list properties, and in this case I'm going to pick lowercase alpha starting with 1, and you'll see now that everything's changed to A, B, and C. I'll do the same down here, but this time I'm going to choose uppercase alpha, and then this second layer of indented lists, I'm going to right click and choose lowercase Roman numerals. So you can see the result there. Let me expand this window a little bit, and now you can see our list with indented numbers and different numbering systems there. So that is the end of the demo. Any questions from our attendees before we move on to the next segment of our agenda? Okay, so next on the list is, we haven't done one of these in a while, Spotlight on a VLab project. And we've got Matt Davis, and he's going to be talking about the IRIS project. So let me go ahead and unmute Matt, and I'm going to throw the presenter over to Matt. So Matt, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, thank you, Greg. So I've just got a few slides to talk about the project and to get down to what we're doing in VLab. The last time I briefed this group, it's been a while now, so I thought I'd go through some of the changes we've seen. Our team's changed a little bit. We still are composed of ITOs that are working in RAP, along with several MDL personnel, and we've got a couple of vacancies which we hope will be filled soon. Some of the recent changes on our project, we became operational on the IDP on January 25th, and we're also working with the Has Collect Extended team and becoming more tightly integrated with them. Has Collect Extended is the service which sends civil alerting protocol messages to FEMA, and then FEMA routes them to the cell phones in areas of tornado warnings, tsunami warnings, etc. We have several software releases planned for the upcoming year, and there's also a lot of talk going on at high levels about IDSS, which will influence our development path. Currently, our schedule looks like this. Our next version is just about complete. We're going to hand it off to NCO next week. It features a complete refresh of the web interface and a lot of performance improvements on the back end. Then we'll be moving on to work on some authentication, approval, and account management for contacts. Beyond that, we begin to work some on Has Collect Extended, and in the 6.1.2 timeframe, we'll also begin to make more impacts catalog improvements ahead of the beta test. That beta test will begin in September. That's our 6.2 release. And then as we get into next year, we're going to be looking at new features such as the Storm Search project, our products, and picking up any bugs or features that came out of the impacts catalog beta test. Some of the higher level decisions that could influence us, there's currently the organizational workforce analysis, work on IDSS practices and requirements. Of course, IRIS is one of the primary tools in the National Weather Service for supporting IDSS, and any findings they come out with could influence our path. And there's also some decision on impacts catalog coming up. There's some concerns about the workload of entering and maintaining the impacts for the core partners versus having core partners do it themselves, like via an INWS-like interface. These things are in discussion now, but as they come to completion, we'll have a better sense of the direction we're going to go with our later builds. So down to the final slide, the VLab has been tremendous to us over the lifetime of this project. We just added Garrett Code Review to our Git repository. And thanks a lot to Ken and the team for kind of holding our hands the first 2 weeks. It's running very smoothly now, and actually going through the process taught us a lot about Git that we didn't know. And so I think just as developers, we're all better off for that. We continue to make extensive use of the Redmine services in the VLab. In our next version, the help system for IRIS 6.1.0 will be actually on the VLab. I'll show that in a moment. We made that decision because prior to this, our help documents were embedded within our code structure, which meant they could only be updated when we did a release. Now, if users have a question or there's something we need to highlight, we can do that directly on the VLab without having to re-release our code. Our interface actually links directly to both the documentation and our Redmine ticketing system to open bug or feature reports. So let me show you that here for a moment. Go over here. So this is our new interface, and under our help menu, if we go to table of contents, it actually will load the front page of our virtual lab site for documentation. And Scott Ryder, who's on this call, along with Jeremy Scholes, have done a very nice job in laying this out. It works very slick with this accordion menu on one side, and I know a lot of the team members, the VLab team, have helped along the way. So thanks for that. But for each area, we have different help pages that display what you need to know in order to use the application. These individual pages are also linked under here, so you can jump directly to one of those links if you want to. If you are in here and you need to report an issue, that jumps to a special page on training and troubleshooting. There's a few common issues and workarounds. And then if you need to go and open a ticket, there's actually an image that shows what parts of that ticket you should fill out, and a link directly to the Redmine site for issues. So you can go ahead and do a new issue and open it that way. So overall, the VLab development services and collaboration services continue to be a great support system for our application, our project, and it's great to continue to learn new things about the VLab and some of the tools that it provides. So we look forward to continuing doing that. Any questions?
If anyone has a question for Matt, go ahead and use the raise your hand feature, and then we'll unmute you. No, sounds like they are satisfied with everything you've said, Matt. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So next on our agenda, we're going to hand over the reins to Laura Cottret, and she's going to give us some training on some various things regarding LifeRay. So I'm going to go ahead and make her the presenter. And Laura, you are unmuted, so you can go ahead and go.
Okay, thank you, Greg. At one of the last meetings, we had one person ask about adding content to the page. When you get a community, what should you do? So some of this may be a repeat for some people, but there are other people who may not have known. So after the community owner makes a request for the community, a member of the VLST will create the community and send a link to you. When you first get your homepage, so that's what I did. I created a community for within this group, within the community owners and project managers community. I created a COPM community just for that reason, to see what it looks like when you first get a community. You may see the announcements, portlet, the navigation, the bookmark, what's new, and scroll down to see the calendar. Now the announcement portlet, I wanted to give a word of caution because the distribution scope for the announcement is not within the community, is for the user. So I'm seeing this because I'm a user, and you may see something else and it's not an announcement from the community. So that's something we're trying to work on to be more responsive, because other people are confused about this as well. Now, I'm not sure if you delete this announcement. I know it's a purpose to give advice, or something may be happening, so I'm not sure if I should say you should feel free to delete this or not. One thing I think is cool that I've seen on other pages is a video, maybe on the first page. So you can add a YouTube video portlet. How come I can't add it? Oh, there it is. Okay, so I will add to this. I may have too many things up. Here's this. So I will add a video from the YouTube just because I think it's kind of cool. Troubleshoot. Okay, you can see it here. So Ken, I have a question going back to the announcements portlet. Is there any harm in deleting the portlet since it causes confusion?
You don't necessarily delete, you just mark it as being read. So it's every person has their own personal view of the announcements portlet, so it's fine to, you wouldn't, a normal user isn't going to have a delete option.
Oh, okay, okay. All righty. So going back to your community, so the items that normally come with communities are the wikis, the forums, the document library, and the blogs. Those are the standard items and the template for communities. So the wiki page allows team members to modify content directly and immediately from the web browser, depending upon which permissions you have that were given to you by your community owner. Typical wiki, the text is written in a markup language, maybe like Creole or HTML. If you don't want to use that, you can just use the WYSIWYG editor. Now, the wiki is good for references similar to how you would use an encyclopedia or instructions. And I found one web page on the National Weather Service page that I would think would be good for a wiki. Oh, did I throw it away? It's the glossary. Now, I think this would be good maybe as a wiki. So I'm going to use some things that Greg just pointed out with the indentation and show how you can add information for other users. And this would be a team effort. No one is really the owner of your wiki. So here there are some hints here for near the bottom where it says others. You can add the table of contents. And then you could think of your headings. So you could say, let's say, the letters, if you're using it for your glossary, if you want to replace what they have done, something similar, easier to find information. So that's with a glossary of acronyms in the Weather Service. Say AMS. It could be acronyms, or maybe you can use it as a dictionary too for terms. If you have people who are new to your teams, may not be familiar with all of the terminology that we use here. So we could give that as a training. Give the link to the wiki as a training. So you would just write the and I'll show a display of what it looks like after. Okay, I will publish this so we can see it now. So then you'll get your wiki in this way, and this is probably a little better than the glossary that was here, because you would have to scroll down to see, whereas the other, your wiki, it'll be easier. Now I need to remember how Greg made his changes to the numbers, so I will look back through the recording of this training, because the numbering system that's default would be confusing to a user. So I would do something similar to what Greg just showed with different numbering system. Does anyone have any questions about the wikis? So the level of access is given to you by the community owner, or the community owner can give someone else permission to give permission to other members too, such as editing rights, the changing of permissions, adding or removing materials. I haven't tried adding a workflow to this, but normally you don't need to get permission to make changes to wikis. It's different from a blog for the nature of collaboration, because there's no one defined leader or author of the wiki, and that's to be more responsive to the needs of the users. The other item that normally comes with a community is forums, and the forums are different from a wiki. The forums are a discussion, multi-way discussion of one topic. So if you may want to, for your community, you would add a category. I would say, let's say, Weather Ready Nation, and then you would have discussions about that topic. I was just restricted to the community owners, community members, and you all have access to this because it's a subset of the community and project owners community, and I did not make any changes to it. You would go to the topic you're interested in and then post a new thread to that, and you would have a discussion, and you may want to have a discussion about steps to take, or let's say calls to action. and then you would have a discussion. Can you all see my screen? It looks kind of small to me. Let me enlarge it a little bit. Okay, it's a little bigger. What steps can the public take to be prepared? And then someone else in your group can respond to this. So I'm going to mark it as a question. I don't mind if someone knows that I posted this. So I'll say, I can say it's urgent just because maybe I want to help, get someone help. You could put tags, Ready Weather Nation, call to action. I think that's another, that's the acronyms will be in your wiki. Someone else could respond. Someone else who's a member of the community can respond to this and then open a discussion. You just respond, you'll see it. If you're subscribed to it, you'll be able to see it and you can respond. So I don't really know the steps to take for the public to take. I could say, turn around, don't drown, but I don't think that's the right step to take. So I would need an expert to say, what should you do to be prepared? Okay. The one thing I wanted to mention about the forums is that you can change the permissions on the thread so that you could have limitations. And in some ways, you can use a forum. I don't want to say to completely replace emails, but the forums could be linked to your email so you can get an email. You don't have to log into the VLab to receive or to respond to the forum. And I showed the categories and tags so people can use the search function and find your discussion. The other item that comes with the community is a document library. So there are several ways to add content to the document library. Did not find any, I should have looked for a document on this computer. So maybe you have a, let me know if I'm taking up too much time too, Greg. Maybe you have a discussion or some team meetings documents that you have for new members or documents for development. Maybe you would put that there. I don't know if I should say, okay, well, maybe I can stay with the Ready Weather Nation document. And then I could look for all the documents from the past to add here. And then when I have new people working for me, I can direct them to this. I created a folder. I would go inside of the folder and upload a folder. I would say a basic document. Now I need to look for a document on this machine. See if I can find one. I'm using a machine in the library, so. I don't know if I should add any of these things. Just, it's okay to add this file, right? You think it's okay for me to add a file with extension manifest, Ken? Okay. You choose a file and your file name. Give a description, you add the tags. And then you publish there. All right, the last thing that's a part of your community when you get it is the blogs. So I added this blog earlier. The blog is a one-way communication for your one person usually talks and gives communication. It's like standing on a soapbox just giving information, and you may stick to the same topic. And I added this blog earlier, but I guess I can add another one. We'll get some information from the MDO website to add on the blog. You just put it into the editor. I guess I should put the website too. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Greg?
No questions for me.
Okay, I just wanted to do a sound check.
Okay.
Making sure people can hear.
I'm here.
Okay, so I hope the person who asked the question was there, and if not, then at any time you can just send an email to the VLab.admin@noaa.gov if you have any questions. I also want to point out the user's guide. If you need any help on anything, you can go to the user's guide for users and community. Really, it's for the community owners, but any user can see it, and you can see how to add the members to the community. And Ken mentioned the teams earlier, using the team for flexibility with the documents, adding a YouTube portlet, adding content and display pages. So if there is anything that you think is missing from the user guide, you can just send us an email. Okay, I wanted to show one other thing with troubleshooting guide. The troubleshooting guide is a forum for users to post questions and answer other people's questions. So I didn't have a list of the items that were done recently, but people who have questions, they can, when they send them to us, I usually add them here to make it easier for other people to see. These are some of the same questions that other people had. In addition to posting it on the users, in addition to posting it in the troubleshooting forum, we also post things that come from users, questions that come from users. We post them to the user manual. So I think I'm finished, Greg, if there are no more questions.
Anyone have any questions for Laura? Okay, looks like no questions. Laura, thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and take control back. And Laura mentioned the user guide, and one thing I wanted to point out in the user guide for new users, that is, and by the way, we're in the fast facts section now of our agenda. You scroll all the way near the bottom here. If you're a new user and you really don't know what to do here, you can get help and submit a request for a consultation from members of the VLab admin team. So I wanted to point out that the link is right here at the bottom of the user guide. I also included it on the agenda for those folks. Some other fast facts I wanted to talk about. I'm going actually up the list now. Images and forum posts, we've had some queries about that since the last meeting. And just to clarify things, within forum posts, you can set it up so that you can, anytime you post to the forum, it'll send an email out to anybody who's subscribed to that. You can also actually use that email, reply to that email directly, and it'll post to the forum. But there's some issues with regard to images in these posts. And within the VLab, you can attach images to either an email or a forum post, and it should go in both directions. But if you want to embed an image in the post, that image must either be in the document library for that community, or it is done via a URL to a public image that anyone can see. If neither of those cases are true, then that image will not come through on the email. So, and then the last fast fact, password policies. And I put together a table here. And there are two different kinds of users in the VLab. There are default users, which are most of us, but we also have our external partners who are non-NOAA people. And we use slightly different password policies for the external partners. The password policies are a little more restricted for them. And some of the differences are that when we set up an external partner, we give them a temporary password, and they're required to change that the first time they log in. But we also have restrictions on the type of words that can be used as passwords for our external partners, including maximum length and number of different special characters that should be required in there. They have to have a different password, set a unique password for 24 different times in the past. So once they get to their 25th password, they could actually use the first password they ever used again. That might be many years down the line, so this kind of prohibits repeat passwords. They expire after 8 weeks. They're given 1 week warning in advance that the password is going to change, and they're given a grace limit, the number of times they can log in after the password expires. That'll allow them to log in one time and change their password. So if you're hosting any external partners on the VLab, please make them aware that there are these password restrictions in place, and particularly the expiration of the password there. It is a pretty quick expiration, but it's something that we kind of require because these folks usually do not work for NOAA, not within the government. So I did want to make one mention that we are also in the process of setting up a way for external users to reset their own passwords, but right now they have to send in a request to the VLab admins in order to reset the passwords. That's what I've got for fast facts. Are there any questions from our audience before we get into the round table? Okay, it looks like no questions from anyone. So now we're going to get into the round table. This is where we open up the floor from any of our members. We do have a question, and it's from Dustin Goring. He asked, is there an option to make all users in a community receive an email from a forum post by default? And you know what? I'm going to throw that question at Ken Sparrow. I think he has the answer for that. Ken?
Yeah, there is a way, although it's not elegant at all. We've got a request to make this change, and it's one of the enhancements that we'll be making. So there is, if you go, Greg, to the there's like a subscription manager, I believe.
And where would I find that?
Go into the admin, and then configuration, and manage. Did you see at the bottom there, manage board subscription manager?
Okay.
So this is a bad example because we're not in a good community, but you could do this within your own community, and then you can actually go in and subscribe people. But it's the reason I say it's not a good option, or it's not an elegant option, is that you'd have to add people individually. We recognize that there's a desire on some community owners' parts to be able to subscribe everyone by default. We've erred on the side of not spamming people initially, so we didn't do anything like that. But we recognize that in certain cases that's desired.
So I brought up the MRMS Community Subscription Manager, and that has some in there. So
right. So then I think the Actions button would allow you to actually go in and add new people.
Okay, thanks, Ken.
Sure.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and open up Roundtable. If anybody has any questions, concerns, or anything else they'd like to talk about from the perspective of a community or project owner, this is your chance. Go ahead and raise your hand and we'll unmute you. And we'll give this about a minute. And it looks like we've got some silence in the audience. So, you know what? We can go ahead and, if there aren't any questions from any of the attendees, we can go ahead and wrap up the meeting. But before we do that, I do want to make one announcement, and that has to do with the new schedule for the VLab owners meetings. The next meeting is going to be a while from now, about 2.5 months, and the reason for this is because your gracious host, myself, gets pretty busy with hazardous weather testbed spring experiments. So I take a short hiatus, and then we'll come back when we're all done with what we're doing here with regard to the HWT. So the plan is, you can see right there, for bi-monthly meetings throughout the year. That'll be kind of the tentative plan. I've already put those onto the calendar. And our next meeting coming up will be the 4th Wednesday of June, which is that is actually the 5th Wednesday in June, June 29th, because I'm going to be on annual leave on the 4th Wednesday in June. So you can already see now that we are kind of having a loose schedule there. So anyway, that's going to give plenty of time to build some content for the next meeting. You can contact me if you have any requests for content on our agenda. Once we've got the thing set up on the VLab where you can automatically send in requests for content, you can use that method as well, and we'll alert everybody of that. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting for today. And thank you very much for all of those who made presentations at the meeting, and for all of you who have listened in. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in June.